What's up, guys, and welcome back to Stereotherapy. I'm your host, Lisa, and of course, I've got Justine right here with me. If it's your first time here, Stereotherapy is a podcast that showcases the importance of music and mental health. Remember, if you like what you are hearing, remember to share, like, and subscribe to our podcast. It would really mean a lot to Justine and I if you do that on any platform you're listening to this right now. And remember, you can also give us a rating there as well. I'm told it helps pump those annoying algorithms and lets us see what we need to be better at. But either way, it would really help us out as well. It could be 5 stars, 4 stars, or even that 1 star. We'll take it. And you can also head over to our website at www.stereotherapypod.com, and you can read our blogs for each episode and see what's going on over there. And all right, we're just going to get right into this. And this is going to be kind of a fun episode, I think. It was just an idea that we had because we would get questions in this podcast. And I thought rather than put them in, because you can audio and have it in, let's just get right into it and do these a question episode for anyone because it's still music and mental health. It's just in a different way. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. And these were all submitted by you guys, which is really, really fun. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. And the first question that we got was, how did one song manage to change your outcome in life? So Justine, what is that song that changed your outcome in life?
Well, I already shared about how Hold On by Good Charlotte saved me as a teen, but I have a lot of songs that really gave me the power to keep going. When I left my abusive ex and didn't have a place to live, I would sing Green Light by Lorde at the top of my lungs while crying in my car. It was just one of those songs that just really helped me. And I never got to see Lorde in concert. I had wanted to see her really bad. And my best friend ended up taking me in the last couple years to go see her in Chicago. And when I got to hear her sing that live, I was just crying such happy tears, but also just the power and knowing that she helped me feel free. And that song just to this day just has a lot of meaning and power behind it for me personally, and that I can get through anything. I just need that green light to keep going.
I love that, and I think I've told other people this. I have a weird relationship with Lorde. Because my ex loved Lorde, and obviously it was not a good relationship. And honestly, anytime I hear Lorde, I'm just like, oh, I cannot listen, which I think we'll get into that question later on. But
Yeah.
Lorde is one I can't but I have heard that song, and that song is amazing. And that is one thing I love that that's done that for you, because I think that's really cool that you can look back on music and do that. But so I'll have to maybe just try and give it a shot, even if it's Lorde. And Lorde, if anybody's listening that loves Lorde, look, she is super talented, super amazing. But again, we'll get into that question later.
Yeah,
for sure, because I will go
we'll
into
circle
that.
back on that.
Yeah, we will circle back. For me, I guess I know on the previous podcast, obviously I shared that Fall Out Boy, Take This to Your Grave changed my life. So I feel like I had to go with a song off that album because it would make the most sense. And I have to go with, obviously, Dead on Arrival by Fall Out Boy. Because without this record, and definitely hearing that song and getting into that record, I truly just would not be who I am today, whether it was working with my local music scene, going to college to pursue music business management, and just so much. And Dead on Arrival was one of those first songs that grabbed me and made me fall in love with Fall Out Boy and that record. And I still remember where I was when I first heard it on pure volume. And I just truly know that without that song, I would not be on the path, not have gotten involved in music, or just, I think, loved music the way I did. Definitely, for sure. And then, so another question that we got was, what is your go-to song when everything seems to be at its lowest?
So I don't really have one song in particular, but I noticed that I tend to gravitate listening to either the Dresden Dolls or Nine Inch Nails when I'm feeling super low. And singing with both those bands tends to really help kind of bounce me back. But I don't really have a song in particular.
No, and no, this was really hard. Like, honestly, this was a hard question. Some of these questions I was like, "What?"
Yeah, some of
Um,
these are pretty tough, but you know.
yeah, and I wanted to give it back, but, like, for me, it's gotta be I gotta go The Middle by Jimmy Eat World because it's one of those songs that gets me through anything, and I feel all this time and I know it is everyone's gonna say, obviously, that's the most popular song. Yes, I know, I get it, but it's like sometimes when I'm sitting in my car where you're going through anything, and it's just, like, hearing those, like, "Everything's gonna be alright," or don't worry about what the bitter hearts are going to say to you. And there's so many times when either people have been rude to me or even starting this podcast and seeing some people I know they were hate listening. They were looking at our stories on our podcast page, but not following it and this and that. And I would always go back to that song and those lyrics and like, don't you worry what those bitter hearts are going to say. It truly just gets me. I love Jimmy Eat World as is, but that song, it just is. And I think it just no matter what I'm going through, if I hear that song, I'm like, "All right, I'm not gonna count myself. I'm not gonna write myself out yet." Like, I love that song. So, like,
It's
definitely
such a good song.
definitely The Middle by Jimmy Eat World. It's gotta be for me, and but again, that was tough at first, but I was like, "Oh, well, duh, I gotta pick The Middle." Like, if I didn't but and then this was an interesting question we got too, was, what song do you sing at the top of your lungs in the shower? So
I know this was a little different.
yeah.
And I know this is really weird because I'm a singer, but like I don't really sing in the shower. Like if I'm if I'm taking a bath to help soak for like my pain and stuff, I'll play music then, and I might sing a little bit with it. But like if I'm in the shower, it's because I'm going kind of fast and just trying to get in and out. So like if I'm singing in the shower just because something really dumb is stuck in my head, like P is for papas. It's a papa's party, or like
So,
just
hang on.
some.
So, really quick, where the hell is that from? Because 'Cause I've seen that in TikTok.
It's TikTok.
Oh, okay,
It's
because
TikTok. It
uh
started with literally somebody was just like they had like a little like get together and they have their cat and they show them like stretching him and that's what they would sing to him and make him dance. And so then we all stole that song and used it with our animals. If
I
I can find the first one, I'll send it to you. But
yeah.
like when I saw that video for the first time, I lost it. And I was like, I have to save this for sound for later. And then it just kicked off. Everybody was obsessed with it.
And I have to tell everybody too, by the way, if you'd like a certain question too, submit your answers because I want to hear everybody's too. Like now that we're talking about this,
Yeah.
I want to know. But mine is definitely the most, I think, weirdest thing, and just people would not suspect it. But it's definitely there's a song that was in the movie Blue Valentine, which is a really dark movie. But I
And I was
loved
gonna
it.
say that's a really sad movie.
Yeah, it's a really sad and dark movie, but, I there's a song that they sing, and it's "You and Me" by Penny and the Quarters. I don't know what it is about that song, and it just is, like, short where it's like, "You and me, nobody baby but you and me," and I don't know what it is, but, like, I'll get into the shower, and I'm just like I end up singing this song, and I don't there's no reason why this song would, but it's just such a reoccurrence thing. Like when I was thinking of my answer for this one, I was like, I guess I'm gonna go this one because it makes the most sense. Although it doesn't really, because if you think you get in the shower and like it's either that or like if I'm listening to something that day, it'll be that.
Yeah.
But for sure, this song, I don't know what it is. Ever since I saw that movie, I just love it. It's a great song, but it's weird to like have that connected to that movie. Like I don't know. But yeah, that's mine, everybody. So I don't know. I thought this one was a little interesting one too, but it's what are you currently listening to?
Um, for me, I've been on a bikini kill kick lately,
Mhm.
so I've just been listening to my Bikini Kill playlist, like, quite a lot lately.
That's like, 'cause that's something too, I'm like, I need to get so when we I mean, spoiler alert, we're gonna do,
Yeah.
like, a woman's and,
Yeah.
like, a Bikini Kill because, like, such an important band, and, like, now I feel like I need to go and listen to some more Bikini Kill because 'cause it's been a hot minute. Always I mean, I love Bikini Kill, and I think there's a lot of newer bands now that are, like, into that style
Yeah.
because of Bikini Kill, and they're so important, so, like, now I feel like, "Alright, now I need to go listen to them." Uh and go do that because at first, I have an answer, but I'm gonna just change it a little bit. Like, I'm currently obviously, that Fall Out Boy, "We Didn't Start the Fire" remix has been on repeat because that has just been everywhere, and I keep listening to that because I don't know what it is. It just makes me feel something every time I listen to it, so I feel that, but also, if we're talking in terms of albums or something that just came out, there's that new one by Honey Revenge, which Honey Revenge, if you are listening to this, I would love for you to have on. They're this duo, and they're so awesome, and they have their record that just came out, but the song "Habitual" has been on repeat, but again, like, they're so great, and it's just a fun like, I just am totally into female singers lately, like, I always have been, but
Yeah.
more so than I ever have, and it's great to see that in that present in the pop punk community, and I just I love it, kinda like our guest Zach was saying, like, with how he would like to have a female, guest spot on a song of theirs, and I see it now, like, more and more ever since we had that conversation, like, I really see, wow, like, there's so many females in music right now, and it's like,
Yeah, I'm really excited about
it's
that.
so incredible, and I'm like, "Alright," so, yeah, Honey Revenge for sure, and then this one was like so I didn't know really know what to go with this, but maybe they didn't listen to our Circa Survive episode, but favorite Circa album. So I didn't know if you had something to add to your other album or if you're just gonna share a different album. I don't know. Like, I'm interested in what you
Yeah,
say because, like,
I know, I was like so on our Circa episode, I talked about Blue Sky Noise being my favorite. Another obviously, I love all of them, each one of them is fantastic. I feel like another really underrated one is Census. I really love the really hard-hitting songs on that one, and it really gets me pumped up a lot, like Schema is really
yeah.
good. Yeah, I love that album too, but yeah, I mean, I love all of their albums, but I figured Descendants was good for a little another little shout out because I think that's another underrated one.
No, that totally is. And I loved that one too. I love that record too. And I think a lot of people slept on that one. A lot on that. And there's
Yeah.
it's so good. And live, those songs really hit.
And live was they're so good live.
And I think it's just so good, and I know I said "On Letting Go" and "Violent Waves," and it's like, uh, while I love Blue Sky Noise, I love all those, I guess I'm just gonna bring it back for me because I didn't say it, I didn't say Juturna, so I'm gonna
Yeah.
say it here because that was the first one I really heard from them, and,
Yeah.
like, it just when I hear, like, holding someone's hair back or I hear that, like, live and it's just like, "Oh my god," or Great Golden Baby, those songs are just they hit so much, and I just feel I don't know, I could list every album of theirs,
I
like, for
know,
some
it's
reason
hard to pinpoint some of them because it's just like every one of their albums are so good, and, like, we love them so much, and, ugh, you
I
know,
know. They're
it's
just
just
they're just so good. I
feeling,
feel like we
so
have a whole another Circa episode part 2 because it truly is, but if anyone hasn't listened to it, we do have a Circa Survive episode, so, like, go ahead and check it out for sure because, you might find some of those answers there and more Circa stuff, because they're definitely a band we could talk about all day, but I guess if you haven't heard any of these records too, go check them out because they're just yeah, we can go on all day, but I guess
yeah.
this kind of just sequences like goes into the next question, but a record that you didn't like, but you later came back to.
I know, I had to think about this one for a minute, and because I know we talked about a couple of them, in like episodes prior. Um, I didn't like Taking Back Sundays, Where You Want to Be at first.
Oh, no, Justine.
I
'Cause no,
know.
I love that one more than Tell All Your Friends, and I tell everybody, but I
I know.
you
I'm
are
like,
like so many other people, and I love that we're gonna, like, break this down.
I'm so like it is really a good album, but for some reason it took me a while to get into it. And obviously now I love it. But yeah, I was a solid like Tell Your Friends, like that was my favorite. That was one that introduced me into them, you know. But yeah, I don't I don't know what it is either. I can't even tell you what, because it was such a long time ago to be like, why did I take so long to get into it? But yeah, that was one for me.
I and I mean, that's so funny because seriously, that was one of those ones that I I fight for, and I'm like, I'll fight anyone that one was better just because I don't know, there was something like, I love Tell All Your Friends, that was my first one, but that record, like 180 by Summer, Set Phasers to Stun, oh, oh my god, but
It's good.
Bonus Mosh
That's why
Part
I'm like,
2.
I don't really know why it took so long to listen to it. I think maybe it could be because see, I knew more people that liked that one more. And so maybe it was the rebel and me being like, is it like you know what I mean? Like I was like, maybe I was backtracking on it a little bit because too many people liked it.
Right,
But
oh, well,
because
you
I
know
have that personality.
oh my god. So it's so funny you just brought that up because that's actually how I'm gonna go into mine because I have
Okay.
that same personality
Yes.
because for me, I already talked about Deja in some of our 20-year episodes because Deja was that. Deja Entendu was one of those records for me that I was just like I don't like it, but then I came back and fell in love with it, and it's, like, top tier forever. But the Menzingers' Rented World was one of those records for me, and it was the same reason you kinda just said, like,
Yeah.
everybody was talking about Menzingers to me. "Lisa, check them out. Lisa, this is
Yeah.
so incredible. Rented World, this is up your alley." Everybody around me, "The Menzingers are gods. The Menzingers are this." And I literally was like, "If I hear one more thing about the
It's like,
Menzingers, I can't," and
yeah.
I'm one of those people too, I have to listen to for myself, not because everybody is telling
Yeah.
me to or any
Exactly.
publication tells me, "Hey, this record's 10 out of 10." Usually, I back off and don't listen to it because 'cause I'm like, "I don't
Yeah.
wanna do that." Which looking back, I'm like, "I wish I wasn't like that because I
I
missed out."
I
Ugh.
literally it happens so much for me, whether it's TV shows or movies or music, that if more the more you try to tell me that I need to listen to something, I'm not gonna listen to it.
Yeah.
And I think I've touched on it before in an episode where there's something called PDA, which is personal defiance autonomy, in autism, where we fight for our own autonomy, and which means like basically um we seem stubborn and we will purposely rebel for like anything. And I definitely have a PDA profile, obviously. And this is one of those accounts where it's the more you try to tell me to do something, the more my brain's like, nope, no, you know what? We're not gonna do that because you want it too much. And then it'll shut down. And then sometimes something will happen later where I will eventually get to it on my own time. And then I'm like, why didn't I like this earlier? Or I guess I should have listened to people telling me to watch this or to listen to this. And it's a weird thing to deal with. And I deal with it in like so many different ways too. Like not even just when it comes to movies or TV, but like if somebody tells me to do something like a chore, it won't get done because
Mhm.
my brain's like they're nagging. Don't do it.
But that's so interesting. I wonder if a lot of us, myself included, like, because that's how I
Yeah.
was. And I feel like I missed out on this record. And I want everyone to know too, like, I was not dogging. Like, the Menzingers are so great. They're one of my favorite bands. I love them so much. And it's just funny because had I maybe stuck to those guns and like, who knows if I would have heard it? Like, I don't know. Like, something just told me finally, I was like, all right, let me give this record a chance. And then I went back and the Impossible Past and I just literally was like, I could not imagine this band's music not in my life, and I just I now try and be a little better with it, and not be like, "Oh, okay, I can listen to this." Like, Billie Eilish was another one I was like, too, I am not listening to her. Everyone's calling her, oh, like, the female Kurt Cobain and this and that, and I'm like, I am not
Oh,
listening
did
to
they
her.
actually people actually call her Kurt Cobain? Now that's
Yeah,
a bit of a stretch, but
yes,
I love her, but I feel like that's
or
a bit of a
what
weird
did they say? They say
combination.
she's like Kurt or something like that, right? It was something
Oh,
I
so
I
weird.
gotta go find it, but yeah, it was something like that, and I was just like,
Yeah,
but
I would
again, I
never
love
use
her.
that. I would never use that, to describe her, but
No.
I do love her. But yeah, she was another one of those 2 people where like, "You why haven't you listened to her yet?" Like, she gets real
Mhm.
dark, and I was just like,
Yeah,
is
right?
she?"
Isn't that
Like,
awful? I
and
think
then one day she happened to have popped up randomly on the radio, but I'd never listened to the radio, and she popped up, and I was like, "Oh, this does sound creepy. I do need to look into her." And I now I'm obsessed with her. So yeah, it's just one of those weird things. It has to be on our own time sometimes with certain people before we actually are like, okay, I'll give it
yeah,
a shot.
and then I feel so stupid about it where I'm like, "Oh my god," but, and then this is an interesting one that I got to somebody submitted too. What is the most difficult thing about this podcast?
I know. I feel like this was an interesting one.
Yeah,
I would say getting people to check us out.
yeah,
Like navigating when and how to get people to find us and listen to us. Like I've been trying to think of fun, like goofy TikTok promos to create to try to catch people and also putting them on like Instagram. But I feel like that's the hardest thing of all. It's just trying to get people to find us and trying to get people to like give us a shot.
absolutely. Like, I agree with you in that aspect too, like, and it's so tricky because I don't wanna be one of those people, like, listen, we do this not for money, not for to
Yeah.
get that to get on this high level status or guest list to shows or whatever it is, or even recognition, right, from those
Yeah.
higher ups, but I think the difficult thing that's one for me, and it's definitely I mean, if you were gonna ask me the first go around of this podcast, I'd have a million things to honestly say for sure. What the most difficult thing were. And now I think now that we're in the second season and we're really coasting, I would say the most difficult thing is definitely because in the beginning it was learning editing and
Yeah.
more so not even just learning editing, it was making sure it sounds the way I want it to sound because I'm such a perfectionist with that because that was one thing in the previous podcast that I was really down on myself about was the editing and the audio and just thinking like, oh, I obviously self-taught, I don't know shit when it comes to editing and things like that. But like I think just understanding that, hey, you're new at this, put it out there. Is it a professional level? No. Is it going to be? Also no. But just being okay with myself that, hey, you're doing the best it can and kind of just keeping that down, like, hey, you're trying and getting that balance. And I think also not feeding into, oh my God, we got to figure out the algorithms, like kind of like you were saying too, like,
Yeah.
oh my God, they say to post at this hour and you got to do this. And I do all of these things that they tell you to do. Every
Yeah.
single one damn thing, I do it. I literally do, and in my mind, like I told you the other day, we're gonna do us, we're gonna post it, and if it comes, great. If it doesn't, I'm no longer stressing about commenting under and liking this and posting at this and posting this reel just to get in this hashtag, like, obviously, yes, like, we want people to hear it because, like, it would be
Yeah.
awesome, and I think a lot of people would benefit, and there's so many people I know that they're like, "Wow, I just found this, like, because of the algorithm or whatever, like, if we didn't have that in place, like, maybe they wouldn't have seen us or so many people I know on my personal Instagram page, "Oh, I had no idea you had this. I wasn't seeing your feed," and it's like,
Yeah.
so, like, for sure that, and also just also getting people to give you that chance too, because, like, people coming on when I shoot so many emails that people only knew the amount that I shoot a day. Like when people tell me,
Yeah.
"Oh, get this band on." And I'm like, "Dude, that band's not coming on." Like, and no disrespect to them. I'm not even going to name who it is, but I'm like, they're not because like, it just isn't, it's just one of those things, and just knowing that, hey, we love what we do and kind of just keeping it fun. But 100%. And I mean, and I tell anyone too that is wanting to do a podcast too, like make sure you are doing it with someone that you can take criticism from. And that
Yeah.
doesn't mean someone be mean from, but take it, because there's things like Justine and I have done where it's like, "Oh, how's this sound? How's that?" And then one of the things I love about Justine is like we're able to have those conversations and make it smoothly for the both of us and say, maybe I need to do this or do that, and this works, or I didn't really like that. What do you think of this? And like I'm constantly sending stuff to Justine. What do you think of this before I post
Yeah.
it? Because I respect that, and I think 100%, if you're gonna do something like this, do it with someone that it is okay if they tell you, "Hey, can we try this?" and not take it personally, because, yeah, I learned a lot.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm gonna say on that. But this is another, but I guess before I say anything else too, like, definitely do it. If this is your thing and you're passionate, do it. It is really easy, and we are here. I will give you any tips ever to start this, because I am by no means a professional, but I've learned a lot. So I am here for you if you wanna do this. Um,
Yeah.
as somebody else submitted, what is your favorite concert you have, or a favorite concert you have attended?
So this is another one where it's too hard.
Sure.
It's too hard.
Yeah,
So
right?
so I can't pick just one, but I always liked being able to see Circa in like a really tiny venue. I honestly love seeing any band in a tiny venue. I think tiny venues are but way better than like a stadium kind of concert. Um, Whenever I had seen Good Old War, they had always put on such a fun show. So if you don't know who Good Old War is, they're kind of like folksy, like
Mhm.
acousticy. If you don't know who they are, you should definitely check them out. But their shows were always super fun to go to. And this one's kind of silly, but I went to a Simple Plan show. It was their anniversary, their 15-year anniversary tour for No Pads, No Helmets, Just Balls. And it was a building full of adults just channeling their inner child, and it was so much fun. And I really enjoyed it. It was great.
That sounds like it, and it's funny you bring up Good Old War because they're one of mine for sure, and I think
Yeah.
I kind of am bringing up kind of a similar artist. Is mine is Kevin Devine, and
Yes. Oh my gosh, I've seen him so many times.
oh, and he played, it was, the day after I saw Brand New at Summerfest, and he played this little show at the House Cafe in DeKalb, Illinois, and it was this tiny little, literally a cafe, a great venue, and it was the most intimate setting I think I've ever seen someone. And
Yeah.
maybe there were 30 of us, maybe 40, I don't know, there was not a lot of us, and literally, he took the stage, no opener, no nothing, and he told us to all grab seats, at the cafe, and we literally all just sat in, like, a little crescent shape around him as he sang whatever we wanted, and it was such a great experience to have that intimacy of a show, and just, I know some people like, of course, I could name other acts, but when I was thinking about this, I was like, that was just so
Yeah.
special to have that moment of him. And then afterwards, you're basically just hanging out with Kevin. And
Yeah.
Kevin Devine was one of my first interviews I've ever done for like a music publication. I still have my signed thing where he tells me to keep going, and he wrote it
Oh,
there.
I
And
love
I'll
that.
never forget that. And he is such a great human being. But
Oh, he is
oh,
amazing.
and
He is so sweet. I've seen him so many times, and I feel like he's, one of those that is really good about trying to do smaller things like that, where
yes,
it's more intimate. Like, so there's this one show, this is probably the weirdest show I'd ever gone to. It was at the U of I and, like like a cafeteria.
I think it's the
It
Canopy
was
Club, right?
No, it wasn't even the Canopy Club.
Oh my god, so never mind then.
Literally it was literally like a cafeteria. Like,
Mhm.
it was weird. And it was Kevin Devine, Andy Hull
Oh
of,
my god.
Manchester Orchestra, and
Yeah.
Mike Kinsella,
Oh my god, no way.
and they just did this, like, acoustic, like, set with each 3 of them separately, and I have a picture with the all 3 of them. It was so random and, Like, because you would just have all these other people that were just literally going into the cafeteria area because, they need to go in there. They're not there for a show. It was so weird, but fantastic.
Yeah. Oh my
If I
god.
find
Oh,
that picture, I'll send it to you for,
yes,
like, a
please do.
blog or something, but it was such a random weird
Oh
thing,
my
but
god. That would be
Kevin Devine
amazing.
he's so good at having these, like, little intimate
Mhm.
setting kind of things, and he's so sweet and
Oh, 100%. I love that man. Like ride or die forever, Kevin Devine, because when I
yes,
reached out to him for that interview, I had no business. He was on tour with Brand New. No business. And Manchester, I'm pretty sure at that time.
probably,
No
yeah.
business. And he took the time for me and he was such the kindest person. And when I go back and read what I wrote, I'm like, wow. Like I again, this was back in the day, like 2012. So I was
Yeah.
younger and I was like, wow, if I only could sit down with him now. But he did it. Oh, just love him and go see any of those people, like for sure. They're just but I guess this is a little different one too. Is what is your favorite part of the podcast?
Um, I I get to talk about music with my best friend,
Ah,
and she doesn't shame me or judge me for anything I talk about. We also get to talk to others and just gush about music, and we get to learn through them and their stories, and I think that is amazing, and I'm somebody that loves to be able to hear what people have gone through, how they've survived, and I learn from that, and I think it's great.
no, I think I'm the same way. I even wrote on here because I'm not gonna lie, I keep little notes on the side. Everybody does it, like we talked about with Steve. Um,
Yeah.
we wrote getting to do this with Justine. So, but yeah, besides that, I would say the same thing you said. Like the people that we've had on, and we've been so fortunate. Like anyone we reach out to, and I feel like a weird connection to every all of them, where I'm like
Yeah.
we had you on and we had this moment or talked and how natural and like I've said before, it's hard sometimes to get on here and it's a little nerve-wracking at times, like beforehand, because again, I'm that perfectionist and I want to be good and I want to ask good questions and I want to get it right and make it sound right. And but it's such a great comfort when you're in Zoom and it's you guys are all just talking music and the impact and I just love that, even if we're different people, right? Like whether it was Bailey, who is the photographer and the mental health advocate that she is, and she's incredible. Steve with his podcast, Zach with his band, Cody with his band, Omar with his, I'm trying to remember everybody now, band,
Yeah.
and all these great people that we're with. And although we're all different, that similar message of music being so important is there. And I absolutely love that. And I love that we get to share that. And I feel like people have that connection too with us. So like I love that. I think I would say that too. Like that's it's a lot of fun. And it's also one of my favorite things too is to see our logo next to my other podcast that I listen to. And I'm like, oh my God, there's our logo. Like this is what we did. Like we made this. So I think that's always so cool
Yeah.
too to see that. And shout out to Gloria because she made that logo and I love it so much. So I just have to throw that in there.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But this is this was one from Holly, and I love you, Holly. And you actually sent this to us, but I thought you kind of inspired this episode. Um,
Yeah.
but so it was, how do you guys get over the feelings you get when you try to listen to music, when you listen to that music or that artist with someone that hurt you and listen to bands again that are maybe attached to someone that hurt you?
I mentioned in our Circa episode that, they're very connected to an ex. Um, because there was so many other good connections with them, I think that's the biggest reason I was able to disconnect it from him. Um, because, like, I had the community, like, the Circa board and, like, other people that I met through Circa over the years as well to be able to fight to keep them with me, you know what I mean? And the fact that they helped me while I was still with my ex and going through hard times. Like, I really do hold them responsible for keeping me alive all of these years. But there's some other bands that I'm not able to move on with, and also sometimes someone loves a band and I couldn't listen to it before, but then a safe person I know who I love just like gushes over a certain band that I didn't like because of somebody else, and then they're able to get me to kind of get into them. Like, I am slowly coming around Fall Out Boy, and this is because of Lisa. So, it sometimes it takes that too, where if you have like it connected to an ex or a friend that treated you really bad, sometimes it takes somebody else to bring you back to it, and make you see it in a different way.
No, absolutely. Like, I still struggle with this, and that's why I admire you
Yeah.
too. Like, I know when you were going through all that, circa for me, I was always wondering that, like, how is Justine going to be able to, because I can't imagine because it's
Yeah.
something like I said, like with Lord, I'll circle back to that is that, my ex and I still like I associate when I see Lord, when I hear Lord, I hear
Yeah.
her and I shut it off. And again, like amazing talent. Love her.
Yeah.
But I just
I feel like
can't.
that's important to note a lot too, is that just because you have somebody connected to a certain band that has jaded it for you doesn't mean that you like don't think that they're not talented
Right.
or
Oh, yeah. Like
yeah.
even Death Cab for Cutie was one too. Like again,
Yeah.
another ex. But
Mhm.
it was someone that when we before we started dating, I got him into Death Cab and he was so into Death Cab, but even more than
Yeah.
me, almost like obsessed. And I could not handle it at times. I was like, "Oh, why did I get him into this?" But it was a much and when we broke up, I could not listen to Death Cab, and I think that
Yeah.
but I think the one sign of, say victory, if I can, like, is, like, when I was able to listen and then go see Death Cab play, and it was
Yeah.
almost like they didn't win, and I think when I think
Yeah.
of listening back to those things, whether it was you with Circa or me with Lord or Death Cab, and I'm not there with Lord yet, but I'm there with Death
That's
Cab,
okay.
and I think
Yeah.
that it's one of those things that it's almost like, okay, they didn't win. I'm doing
Yes.
and I think that's something too, if you're listening to this, and especially you, Holly, like, it's okay if you're not there yet. It doesn't mean that you're
That you
not
won't get there.
right, you won't get there. Like I said,
Yeah.
I am still struggling with and Dashboard Confessional was another one. They were attached
Yeah.
to that same Death Cab Boy,
Yeah.
and,
No,
we met because of Dashboard. We met, and
yeah.
I met Chris Carrabba with him, and it was one of those things of and telling Chris Carrabba, "Oh, because of you, we met, this and that," and it literally was one of those things, and I think it's important to know if you're not there yet, that's okay. You're on your own
Yeah.
path, but at the same time, I would say try what's best for you if you're trying to look for ways to do it and maybe listen to a song here and there or if it's on the radio maybe you don't turn it off right away or it comes on the TV. That's a victory if you don't turn it
Yeah.
off. Like say you're somewhere and you hear it because maybe it's like okay you're not going to listen but like sometimes me if I hear it out somewhere like there's a song that another ex-boyfriend like I swear I don't have like all these millions of ex-boyfriends everybody but like the ones that I've
Yeah.
had I'm like oh it's attached to music and it's like there's a song he used to say, "Oh, this is my song for you, Lisa." And if I hear it in the store, it was
Who was
I
it?
don't remember. It was the song like "So Caught Up in You." So caught up in you, little girl. I'm never gonna set myself free. Oh,
Oh,
someone's gonna kill me. It's an older 80s band. So
I can't
it,
think of what that
but
is.
I gotta find it. But I
Yeah.
still, when I hear that in a grocery store, because usually that's where I hear it, I
Yeah,
have to
of
stop.
course.
I have to stop for a
It's
minute.
always the grocery store.
Right? I have to stop for a minute and be like, okay, you hear this. It's
Yeah.
okay that you're feeling whatever it is. So I think if you're not there yet, you will, but you little moments like that when I'm in the grocery store and I'm just like,
Mhm.
okay, I've got this, or okay, this doesn't affect me as much as it did. And maybe one day it won't. So like it could take a while for sure.
Yeah, and if you don't ever come around to it, that's okay too.
Yeah.
I still have, bands that I can't like, there's gonna be absolutely no way for me to get past it. For me, Bright Eyes, I
Mhm.
hearing Connor Oberst, like, I no, it's never gonna
Yeah.
happen.
Right.
Um, Julian Baker, can't do it.
Oh, no. Oh, no, that hurts my heart.
Phoebe Bridgers, can't
Oh,
do that
no.
either.
Oh my god.
It's
I'm pissed at whatever. Yeah, I think I know who, but
you know exactly who this is,
I'm
so
pissed off because I
it's like, you
Phoebe
know who it
Bridgers
is.
is but see, that's
Oh,
that
and
makes me so mad.
I think that, like, it shocks people too, especially if they know who I'm talking about,
Mm,
but, like, those, like, really sad, like, more indie, those are the ones that I can't get into because they were constantly played, and I wasn't allowed to listen to anything else. It was like, those are the ones that I just can't get past. You know what I mean?
mhm, and
But
that's
that's okay.
mhm, that is, and I think, Holly, I hope that somewhat makes you feel a little better, and then no, you're not alone, obviously, like,
Yeah.
where Justine was able to listen to Circa, we just heard, like, there's so some that she can't, and that's and same for me, so, like, you're not alone in that, and I want you to know that, and I love you, and I appreciate your support always, and you're awesome, but she's part of the Circa fam, by the way, too, so that
Oh,
makes it
that's
better.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, it makes it so much better,
it
yeah.
I mean, to kinda lighten the
Love
mood a
it.
little bit, we'll lighten the mood a little bit. What was your first concert, Justine? What was that, if you can remember that?
So, my first concert was Aerosmith,
Oh, yeah,
and
I should have known this, duh, we just talked about this. Okay.
it was when they got real popular again in the '90s,
Yeah.
and I wore a Spice Girls shirt, and my dad made fun of me. He he was saying how, "Gosh, I really hope that Steven Tyler sees you in your Spice Girl shirt, and just, like, calls you out." And I'm just like, "Whatever, dad." Like, maybe he likes the Spice Girls, okay, and but yeah, that was my first concert.
My very first one was the pop disaster, was the Blink-182, Green Day. I wanna say there was someone that opened that day. If it was Save the Day, it was one of those, or that wasn't, maybe it was Alkaline Trio. There was something that opened, but I was so young, I didn't know the greatness of Saves the Day. I didn't know any of that. I was just, "Oh my god, I get to go to the show and see Blink-182 and Green Day with, like, Fuck Illuminated," and, like,
That sounds
and
amazing,
and
though.
it amazing, and I was way in the back, but it just really, I love that that was my first take, and then, of course, like,
Yeah.
after that, the Warped Tours were everything, but I had to think, I wasn't sure if it was Warped Tour or that, and I was like, "No, it was definitely that," because I remember being so little, I couldn't see, and, like, it was just awful, but good to be there, but it was like, "Oh, I'm so little, but I get to experience this," so it was, like, so much fun, and yeah, and now how many concerts later, and I probably would still go see all those bands, so it works out, and
That's awesome.
this kinda goes into too, the next one that someone sent was, "What were you like in high school?"
Uh, so I was a very sad and full of rage goth kid. Um, I was anti-conformist, I was rebellious, and I only had a few friends that were very important to me. Um, I only cared about art, history, and music. Um, Everyone thought I was really weird, teachers included. I actually had teachers that had apparently talked about me in the break room, and they said that they thought if anybody could be a school shooter, it would have been
What?
me. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, cuz I had a friend whose dad was a teacher and he actually stood up for me in that conversation. But like, yeah, I still find that hilarious to this day. I'm like, y'all were looking at the wrong person for this situation. I actually also had a supervisor in high school who was convinced that I had an eating disorder, which I didn't. It was just because that I was pale and super skinny. And mind you, I also wore those really big trip pants, so that
I
probably didn't help
Yep,
either. So I
I
probably
remember
seemed
those.
even smaller. But I I just had a really fast metabolism back then, so I was always very small, and I'm very short, so, like, I don't know, they probably just saw all black, she's very skinny. Clearly there's something wrong there. Maybe it's an eating disorder, and it wasn't. Um, and when I was out with mono, people were spreading that I had unalived myself. So basically, high school was not fun for me. I was, um, yeah, I was the kid that was picked on. I was the kid that people didn't want to deal with. I was, especially when it came to PE, nobody wanted me on their team because they knew I wasn't going to try because I did not care. Like, yeah, I mean, that pretty much fully encompasses me as as a high school student.
Oh my god, like, that sounds first of all, screw those teachers. But I was a little like I was definitely when people see me now, they're like, "Oh, you probably had, friends or this and that," like a lot and it's like, dude, I that's when I look back and I'm like, "Yeah, I had anxiety," right? Like, dude, like,
Yeah,
I look back, I had it. I had my group of friends, but I never really belonged with the right people. Like, I had friends, none of them liked the music I did, none of them were into it. I was totally into the Hot Topic style. I was all about, like, the Furby shirt or the Gremlin shirts, and, like, any little Hot Topic shirt they had or, uh, 16 Candles t-shirt from Hot Topic. That's how I met one of my best friends, Jessie, at the time, and I just was into all things, whether it was the new metal, punk, but I loved my music. I was always seen with a Discman. I was that type of
yeah,
girl, seen with my
same.
Discman, and I just think that was just one of those things how I was. I had friends, but not a lot, and, I mean, I was that girl, like, I skipped my senior prom and to go to a Fall Out Boy show. Um, and if that didn't say how I was in high school, I don't know what, because I did not care about any of the football games. I did not
Yeah,
care
I
about
didn't
the
either.
dances. I did not care about any of the pep assemblies. I did not care about any of that. And I wasn't anti high school, but I think I just always knew too, like, this wasn't I don't know, like, the town or it just wasn't
Yeah,
for me because once I got out of high school and I could get into my local scene, like, even more, I had more friends after high school than I did
yeah,
in, and I
I
just think it was I don't know, I wasn't and I wanna say, okay, I was shy, but it was more so my anxiety, That's what made me, like, that way, like, looking back, it's like, "Duh," like, that's why, but I was definitely that girl, I loved art, I was such an artist, I mean, I still am,
yeah,
but, like, that was it, my art, my Discman, but also I had a tough time in high school, though, too, because I was picked on, I was bullied, and I had
yeah,
popular guys come up to me and like, "Oh," you know so and so wants to go on a date with you or blah blah blah. They like you. And I knew they didn't.
I didn't. Yeah, I dealt with that a couple
I
times
was the
too.
nerdy girl.
Yeah,
No way. And I dealt with a lot, but I think that's why like when there's reunions that come and stuff about high school or movies
yeah.
about high school and the glory days, I just don't connect. It's not
Oh,
me.
same.
And I just don't have it that way, and it's like, again, if you were someone that loved like, G had nothing but good things to say about his high school, so, like, he doesn't relate to me in that way or, like, that I skipped prom, it's like, "Oh my god, you skipped prom," but, like, I don't regret it. I saw Fall Out Boy, I saw
No, yeah,
Springfield, I was having a blast before From Under the Cork Tree, like, it was great. Would do it again, 10 out of 10, but, like, I just yeah, like, high school me and I look back, though, I'm proud of high school me because I never conformed, I was always that
yeah.
me no
I
matter
kind of
what.
I feel proud about that too.
Right,
Like,
like right, looking
yeah,
back, it
I didn't
sucks
cave
then.
and do what
Mm-mm.
everybody else did.
No,
Um,
and
yeah,
that carried with me, and I see that carries
yeah.
with you too, like, we're both
Oh
that
yeah,
way, and it's like, I I I do, and I think even though I was so bullied or so this, I was always still kind, and I think that's what I was also proud of is I never lost that kindness through the shitty part of high school, and I think that's why I loved music so much because even then, like, it was, like, my best friend. So, I
yeah,
mean, I had that, and I think yeah, high school Lisa, I mean, looking back, man, she had it rough, but I give my high school younger me so much credit, and anyone else out there that's, like, if you hear that and you're like, "Oh, that's me," or "That was like me," like, we made it through it, and I think now seeing like, "Hey, that wasn't everything, and you'll be okay. You keep being you." Like, when people hear
Yeah.
me in the podcast of originally, they're like, "Lisa, you have not changed." Like, that thing and then that to me was like, "Oh, that's the biggest, best compliment ever, is that I've not changed," and I love that, and, oh, man, high school.
I know,
Like
it's just like, oof. I
yeah.
it's one of those things too where am I the same for being different? Yes,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I am confident now. I wasn't confident back then.
Mhm.
You wouldn't hear me like talk about like music. I didn't have anybody to really talk about music with. It was just
Same.
kind of to myself. I didn't really like raise my voice. Like I was rebelling and I was full of rage, but like I wasn't avidly like starting debates or anything
Right.
like that. Um at the same time, that kind of I feel like where you're like you were always kind. I feel like I was kind, but I was very untrustworthy. So
Mhm.
I think I suspected everybody being against me. So I might have been really mean to you, thinking that you were not well intentioned. But I try to be better about that now. I still have that initial like don't trust everybody kind of gut feeling about a lot of stuff, but yeah, I always had my music. My music was my true best friend,
Mhm.
and it helped me get through a lot of hard times. Like I my most uncomfortable time in high school would be PE, and of course,
Oh god,
that
same.
was my most rebelling part of me would be like when I had to run laps, I would sing "Fuck Authority" by Pennywise. And, like, constantly, like, just, singing, like, Linkin Park, "Everything
Mhm.
You Say to Me." Like, that but I was weird, but, like, music's what got me through, and I still dress weird to this day. I, like, tried to go away from the goth kid for a minute after high school, and then it was like, it wasn't me, but I also a lot of that kinda had to do with a certain ex as well,
Yeah.
not dressing as weird as I wanted to because I felt like I couldn't. And so now as an adult, I'm kind of I was already kind of like alt, but like I'm getting back to my true alt roots and I have a supportive spouse that's like well spouse.
But hey, he is.
Oh, we're not married, sorry, bud. I have a supportive partner, and like he might be like, "Oh my god, you're so weird," but like he doesn't tell me not to.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So, basically, what I'm getting at is like as you go into adulthood, I think a lot of us are dealing with this where we heal our inner child. I'd
Mhm.
like to think that if my high school self were to meet myself today, they'd be very proud
Mhm.
and happy where I'm at today. Because I'd like to think that I dress to impress my inner teenager, not anybody else. So
Yeah. No, I agree with you that so much with that. Like, I do. I really do, and I'm blessed with G too, where I'm a little different than some of the people around here, like, especially, like, girl-wise with, like, my tattoos and stuff, and, like, you
yeah,
think that sounds weird, but it totally is, because when you're not around that and it is, it's a great feeling to have that, and I do, I think anybody else too, I'd love to hear how your experience was as well, because it's so interesting to hear that and see that, and I think we are trying to heal all those things, and I I guess the last question that is kind of crazy to think about, but this has been so much fun so far. But what was the first album you bought with your own money?
my very first CD ever, and it wasn't my own money because I was very young. So I don't care. I'm sorry. This is going to be my answer because
Yeah, who cares? Who
I didn't
cares?
I listen. I didn't really have an allowance, so it was just
Right.
basically when my parents would take me to get something. So my very first CD ever was TLC, Crazy Sexy Cool.
Oh, yes, there you go. I love that. That's such a good one.
Yeah.
Like that's oh, that oh.
My grandma had well, my great grandma, we called her Donut Grandma. she got both me and my brother a little boombox that had like a CD player in it. And so my parents were like, okay, well, we gotta get you CDs. And that was my first one.
I love that. Like
TLC,
that's
Crazy Sexy Cool.
I love that. Mine, people are gonna laugh at too. Like maybe not. Is History by Michael Jackson.
Hey,
I I
that's
l- I
legit.
loved Michael Jackson. I remember my dad taking me to Best Buy and I would do like little chores around the house and this and that. And I had whatever. And we waited because it wasn't even the time I really liked Michael Jackson. It was just like hearing how groundbreaking this record was, like his story, and like
Yeah.
I had to go get this. I had to have this record in my hands. And we waited in line like back in the day, like literally I had to wait in line for this record when it came out. And I remember getting it. It was that double disc album. And I remember listening to it and I'm like just being like, wow, this is all right. I've got this epic CD that like everybody wants, this and that. Oh my God, I've got the record of the year. Yeah, it's just wild to look back. Like I was young listening to these things. Probably I had no business, but I would say that one for sure. But I would say honestly, though, TLC probably was one of mine as well. Like I just have a firm memory of being taken to go get this one because I told my dad I want to go get this record and my parents to go get this record and but they're still so good. So good to
I,
look back
like
on.
TLC was my absolute very first album, but then I
Yeah.
remember also getting not too long after that, I got Sheryl Crow's
Oh my
CD.
God, come on. Sheryl Crow is a goat. I don't care what anyone say. I'm gonna say it.
Was that the first album she had, or at least the first hit she had?
I
That
think I know what you're
album. That's
talking
what.
about.
Yeah, that was my
So
that was
good.
my
Like I
early
said,
one.
like
So
I
funny.
love her and I made a parody of her. Like instead of a change will do you good, I did a shave will
Yeah.
do you good and a big
Oh my
like
gosh.
thing. Like I somewhere there's me. I don't know where, but that that for sure. And I love her too. And I think that's so cool. And I have just had so much fun with these questions and
Yeah, this
everything.
was so much fun.
And I think anytime if you guys have a question, like submit it and maybe we'll do another one. Maybe you loved this. Maybe you absolutely hated it. Maybe you only listened to a little bit. Either way, we had a good time responding to these and having fun and looking back. And I hope that everybody else did as well. Let us know if you liked this one for real, because I'd love to know. I just thought this was a fun way for you guys to get to know us a little more too. And just to answer these, because instead of just like typing them out, like, oh, we can just talk about them. So I did. I had so much fun with these, and I really do hope you guys enjoyed this as well. And please do remember to add us on Instagram at stereo.therapy and ask us a question anytime, any of these. Maybe we'll pile them up. Like that's what I did with Holly when I saw
Yeah.
she recorded it. How do we do this? And then, all right, let's do it this way. So remember to do that. Like we love talking music. We love to connect with you guys. And again, and also it was a little different because like this is 4th of July weekend or week that it's coming out. And I don't know who's going to listen, who's not. So I just thought it was something fun to like throw in there and in the mix of fun something. So if you're off, whatever. Yeah, but I hope you got to know us a little more. You enjoyed it a little bit. Let us know again. And we will see you guys next Tuesday, bright and early.